Hey guys, it's Tom. In today's video, I'm going to be taking you through... Oh, hold on a second here. Alright. Be taking you through the general overview of Cloudy, and we'll check out the first mode, which is the granular mode. This sounds pretty cool. So keep watching. So let's take a look at Cloudy's layout. To do that, I'm going to be using this Muji pen. So we have 2 foot switches here. This turns the pedal on and off. This one engages the freeze function. We have these 5 small knobs here, 6 large knobs up here, and then 2 push button switches. This is the mode select. This is the quality select. Okay, let's take a look at the jacks here. We've got an input jack, output jack. We've got our 9-volt center negative power jack here. On the side, we've got an expression pedal input jack, 2 CV input jacks, and a trigger input jack. So more on those later. For now, let's just take a look at how the pedal works. First, we're going to add some power to the pedal. To do that, I'm going to use the Voodoo Labs ISO 5, and I'm going to be plugging into the 300 milliamp output. The top is plugged in, and now I'll just plug into the power supply here. And it turns on, and it goes through a little test cycle with the LEDs. And the lights are on in white, which means that the pedal is on. So now that it's on, let's go over all the lights that this pedal has. These little knobs here are light up knobs. They light up white to show that the pedal is on. These push buttons also light up when the pedal is on. When it's bypassed, they're off. The freeze switch also changes the color of these LED knobs here. So if we hit it, the lights turn pink. That means that the pedal is engaged and freeze is also engaged. If we turn it off, freeze is off and the lights go back to white. Also, if you turn freeze on and then you turn the pedal off, the lights stay red. This shows you that freeze is still engaged, but the pedal is off and bypassed. So if you turn it back on, your freeze should still be there until you turn it off. Let's check out the mode select button. If we click it once, it tells us what mode we're in. If we keep clicking, we'll scroll through. Granular mode, pitch shifting, looping delay, spectral madness mode, emiverb, resonester, back to granular. The other button here selects the audio quality of the effect. Not your dry signal, just the effect. Click it once, it'll show us a red light in the first position here. That means that we're in the best quality and the stereo mode. If we hit it again, we're in the best quality but in mono. If we hit it again, we're in worst quality stereo. Hit it again, worst quality mono. And then back to best quality stereo. So in these different audio qualities, it changes the length of the audio buffer. So what does that mean? That means that in the first position, we'll have 1 second of delay, 2 seconds of delay, 4 seconds of delay, 8 seconds of delay. It's pretty different for each mode, how the audio quality affects the effect. But start with it in the best quality mode in stereo. All right, let's go over some of the controls. In, that controls the input level. Out controls the output level. Where they are right now, around noon, that's kind of unity. It really depends on what you're putting into this pedal. Pan controls the stereo spread of the effect. Now, that's only really noticeable when you're using the pedal with a stereo output. If you're using it with the mono output, like a guitar amp or something, just keep it all the way to the left. Verb, that controls the amount of reverb. Now, this pedal is special because the reverb isn't just on the wet signal, it's also on the dry. So, if you have the mix all the way down and just dry signal going through, if you turn the verb up, you're going to hear reverb. It's pretty cool. FB, is that Facebook? No. It stands for feedback. It controls the amount of signal that gets fed back into the effect. Now, if you're messing with this pedal and it just gets way out of hand and starts going off on its own, it's usually because feedback is turned up too high. Also, it depends on what mode you're in and what your settings are, but usually if things get crazy, turn the feedback down and that usually solves things. There's too much feedback. Mix. That controls the amount of effect that we're hearing. All the way left is fully dry, all the way right is fully wet. Pitch controls the pitch of the effect. Now, in the noon position here, it's neutral, so it's not affecting the pitch at all. If we go counterclockwise to the left, pitch is going to go down. If we go to the right, pitch is going to go up. Now, position, size, density, and texture all kind of do different stuff for every mode. So I will explain what those do in their respective modes. So what does this granular processor thing even do? Well, it takes the audio coming into the pedal, stores it into a buffer, then depending on your settings, it breaks that buffer down into little tiny grains of sound, and then it filters them and plays them back out. So you could have really small, tiny little particles of sound that are all mushed together, coming through in an overwhelming amount, or you could have really large grains of sound coming through and very slowly, so it sounds very choppy and intermittent. Let's take a look at this drawing here. This cat is meowing. The meow goes into the audio buffer. The meow can then get broken down and be played back with medium-sized grains, kind of intermittently, or it can be played back very fast with very small grains. So that's kind of how it works. I just wanted to draw a cat. I have this microphone hooked up to the pedal. It's going through a mixer into the pedal and then into the interface. So notice that I'm starting out with all the knobs at noon here. And they actually have a little indentation on them, so they'll kind of home themselves there. Now this is a good way to start when you're in any kind of mode. You hear my voice, the pedal is in bypass. Now you still just hear my voice. The pedal is still in bypass? No, you dummy. Pedal's on, but it's not doing anything because density is set to noon, which means we're not making any grains. If we go to the left, we're going to get evenly spaced out grains. Further away from noon we go, the more grains we're going to have. If we go to the right, we're going to get randomly spaced grains. Random grains. Lots of random grains. Now that we know how to make the grains with density, let's control the size of the grains. I'm going to turn position all the way down. So that's like giving us no delay time at all. It's just straight processing. We're going to add some random grains here. And they're kind of medium sized. And now let's make them really small. Small grains. Random small grains. And now really tiny. Tiny grains. Tiny grains. And now more of them. And they'll kind of build up on each other and kind of get all mushy and jumbly and kind of loud. Now we have these wacky things happening. Now let's change the position. You could treat it like a delay time. So if we go up, it makes the buffer longer. And then go all the way up, it makes its full length. It's full length. Feedback works like a delay feedback. Depending on all of your controls here, it can get kind of out of control. So let's just go to 9 o'clock here, and we'll see what that sounds like. Now we have feedback. We're going to use texture to control how they mush together. So if we go counterclockwise, they're going to go through some different shapes and collide in different ways. It can get very noisy and clicky, which is cool depending on what you're doing. If we go to the right, they actually smush and smear together. It kind of makes it sound like a reverb a little bit. It's pretty cool. So now we're going to use the freeze button. Now what that does is it freezes the audio buffer, and it allows us to manipulate it with all of the controls. This is a good way to learn what each control does with a frozen audio buffer and see how it affects the sound. Now I'm making sound. Now that we have a buffer frozen, I'm going to go through the different grain amounts with you. So we're going to go to nothing, bring back the wet signal, random. Back to nothing, even. Okay, go back to random. Now let's change the size of the grains. Now position will take us through the buffer, like if you were scrubbing through a tape loop or something. So let's hear that. It's cool for finding really cool like little microtones and stuff. And now let's play with the texture of these grains. And finally, let's change the pitch. We haven't done that yet, so let's do that. If you want to keep that going in the background, we can bypass, and now we've got nothing going on, and then we go back to it and turn it off. All of the controls are really interactive with each other. Changing the size to something really small makes the grain sew a lot faster. Finding a really cool tone when you're scrubbing through the buffer, you can then pitch it and get even cooler tones. If you get really, really small size and really, really fast amounts of grains coming out, you get like really weird kind of frequency modulating stuff. And then another cool thing too is when you're frozen and you find a cool sound, and then if you unfreeze, whatever you're putting in live then has that cool kind of sound to it. So it's a good way to find good like knob combinations. So let's do that. Oh my God, making some cool sound. Cool sound. Now I sound really cool. And we can go fully wet here.
Now I sound really cool. Now I sound really cool. Yeah.
Another feature on Cloudy is these 4 LEDs here, and they monitor your input level. If I'm talking and it comes through, it just kind of lights up the first LED. That means you got a good signal going. Now, if I crank the input and I'm talking into the pedal, you can see that it really affects the input level. And if I yell, "Whoa!" you can see it starts to clip with the red LED there. Whoa! Clipping! Adjust accordingly. So that was a general look at the pedal and at the granular mode. I will be going over the other modes in their own videos shortly, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. So, thank you for watching. I know this was a long, drawn-out video, and I probably sound like an idiot, but thank you. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon.